A guten Erev Shabbos, everybody. Acharey Schwartz here. A little bit of a hiatus. I wasn't sure I was going to get this out today, but first of all, just a beautiful day here in Eretz Yisrael in Carmiel. I'm back out on my porch, out of my office, as I've been for the past 2 months. This week, our weekly video, a Parsha short, is not sponsored. Usually I try to put on my statuses to get people to sponsor that. This week, just been too busy with that. But I definitely want you guys to sponsor it. Get this chus of sharing this show with hundreds of people, even more than that probably, with my statuses, on my Facebook, on my whatever. You get it all over Instagram and WhatsApp video groups. So sponsor it, help out our shul, help out our community. Whatever you want, $10, $18, $20, $100, $200, whatever it is a chus that you're joining in, and we can have these sponsored every single week by you in honor of your special occasion. And we come to this week's Parsha Kedoshim. And I want to share with you a great story. I mean, I've had just incredible incidents with, meeting incredible people. You read my email, which you should subscribe to as well, Rabbi Schwartz at yahoo.com. Got all our plugs in there. And get my weekly email because there are great stories going on over there as well. But we come to Parshat Kedoshim, and it's amazing because we're learning all about holy people, and we're meeting about holy people, and we're learning about how to become holy. But there's something very strange about Parshat Kedoshim, and it's sort of like plopped in the middle. I mean, I would say the main part of Parshat Kedoshim, where we have Hakel, where we have all of the tribes together, and we're all telling them the mitzvos here, with the mitzvahs of V'ahavta l'recha kamocha, mitzvahs of Klayim, of Gez, in every area of life, Ben Adam l'chaver, Ben Adam l'makom, we have all these areas together, and yet it's sort of interspersed. If you put it in between there, Parshat Acharey Mos at the end of last week's Torah portion, and this is Eretz Yisrael, so I guess it's also relevant for you guys as well, because in Chutz La'aretz you're reading a different Parsha than us. But the end of your Parsha of Acharey Mos is all about all of the illegal, forbidden relationships. Ervas avicha, ervas imecha, ervas eish avicha, all the people that you're not allowed to be married to or to go ahead and have relations with, all the illicit prohibitions. And then all of a sudden we introduced Kedoshim to you. Be holy. Ki kadosh ani, because I am Hashem, your God. And then it tells us, what does that mean? And it gives us 3 mitzvahs, right? What are the 3 mitzvahs that says that it tells us about being holy? Ish aviv v'imo tiro, you should fear your parents. Okay, I wouldn't associate that necessarily with holiness. That's just, even when Esav was honored his father, I wouldn't call Esav a holy person, right? Shavsosai tishmor, you should observe the Shabbos. And again, there are many mitzvahs. We know that Shabbos is definitely holy. And then it says, Al tifnu alolim, don't do idolatry. Okay, Ani Hashem. 3 mitzvahs. And then we go to all of the other mitzvahs. And then we get to the end of the Parsha, and voila, we get into all of the illicit relationships again, but now it's telling us the punishments for them again. And a person that sleeps with a man and a woman and a father-in-law and a daughter-in-law and all of these different things that are going on. And it brings all of those things back in. So it's sort of like sandwiched in between over there. And the question is, why is it sandwiched in between there? Why don't we just keep it all together? It seems that the Torah felt it was very important to go ahead and divide up the forbidden relationships, their punishments at the end, and the way all the mitzvahs and the holiness and everything that revolves around that. And even more interesting, if you think about it, is the introduction to all of the punishments of the forbidden relationships. It starts off in Parak 20, Chav, right? The forbidden, don't give your kids up to go ahead and get burnt up as a sacrifice and nachal kids, which they did during the first temple period. Again, in my weekly email, you'll read about that in the times of King Asa this week. It's this week's Torah portion. Unbelievable. How this thing is, this weekly Parsha thing really goes together with everything. And you shouldn't go ahead and do that. And then the Torah really goes out of town to this. You're destroying my temple, being Machal Hashem, and I'm going to turn my face away from everything else and deal with you and deal with the people that give their kids up to kill them all. Right? And then, again, before we get to the illegal relationships, we say, Ish Yishalel as Aviv as Imo, he should curse out his father and his mother. Most Yumas, he should die, right? Avi Imo Kila, he cursed out his father. And then it gets all the relationships. So we have father and mother in the beginning of the Parsha, of being holy. We have father and mother in the end of this thing, cursing them out. And right before that, we have about giving children up to get killed. And in the middle, we've got all these mitzvahs, and surrounded on both bookends of that, again, forbidden relationships. What's going on? what's this all about? I heard an incredible idea, and I think it's just expanded more and more. And I'll share it to you in the form of one of my shemitta farmers that I spoke with this week. And the person is actually amazing. I go to a lot of shemitta farmers, but this person, Iyal, up in Ben Ami, he tells me on the phone, he's keeping shemitta, this and that. He grows lychees, he grows avocados. I said, I want to bring tourists to get brachas from him, to get blessings from him, to learn from him. He goes, Ani lo dati. I'm not religious. A shemitta farmer is giving up tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not religious. Okay, I said, you're more religious than anybody else I know. You're giving up all this money for shemitta? No, we're going to talk about it. And I said, now I really want to meet you. Right, to meet a non-from shemitta farmer. Somebody says he's not dati. Let me tell you something. It's amazing. Sitting there and we're talking about him. He's a Hungarian, but he's living out in the Yishuv, an Israeli-Hungarian. His parents are Hungarian, so we're doing the Igen and Michinas and Nemto Dom Kokosh thing with him. And he's telling me about his father. He's a Holocaust survivor. His father ran mamash by foot from Hungary, killed Nazis along the way to get out, comes to Eretz Yisrael. And he goes, the father was 14 years old. They weren't raised with any religion whatsoever. And but his father had an incredible amount of faith to him. And he was a straight person. He did what was right, but he was a tough person as well. And he told me, I could show you the bruises, and you did what Tati wanted. You did what Abba wanted. And he said, when his father passed away, he's still not religious. He said, but the one thing about his father was faith, and nothing would ever shake him. And he goes, and the idea of shemitta that he heard of, he got very close. He used to travel back and forth. He was involved in doing bioengineering and cows and stuff like that. He would travel all over the country and milking processes and stuff like that. And he would always bump into this tzaddik along the way that would go ahead and he would give tzedakah to, and he would schmooze this person. And he was just impressed with this person. He goes, I saw this guy give out money to everybody. And I was inspired by this tzaddik that I saw that was giving money. And we got to talk, we got the relationship. And I talked about having faith and how everything comes from Hashem. And I believe that. I firmly believe there's no question. I guess I'll prove it to you. And he actually told me a few stories that he believes is, and of course it is, that Hashem is there, miracles that he performed for him. And he said, I want to get to that faith. And I'm going to do that faith because of my father. And he goes, look at my hand. And he shows me his hand, and he's got goosebumps all over it. And when he's talking about his father. And he goes through this shemitta, and he's observing the shemitta because he has his father's image emblazoned on his face. Right? The idea of Judaism, right? We talk about kedusha, being holy and going out and beyond, and becoming firmer and firmer and doing this and that. And that's all good, right? But you have to have a basis. You have to have a base of that. And that base is called yira. The Torah repeatedly tells us, you should fear God. You should fear God. And it doesn't mean to be scared. It means a sense of responsibility. It's a sense of that I'm here on this world with having awe of God. Hashem chose me, He put me down on this world, He gave me a place, He gave me something to do in life. That basis comes from a father. From knowing that you have parents. You have your father, you have a mother, they set you a tone. The opposite of that, by the way, is all the immoral relationships where you don't even know who your father is anymore. Is that my uncle? Is that my father? Is that my brother? Is that my wife? Is it my cousin? Yeah, it's a balagan when you're not keeping the laws. And whenever it says you have Erva, Rashi says, we have Kedusha, we have holiness. Because when a person is being Kodesh, he's going ahead and saying, you know what, I need to know who my father is, I need to know who my mother is, because that's what's going to go ahead and keep me through my whole life. And once I have that, you want to be Kedoshim, have those parents' image in front of you all the time. Know where you came from. Know where your father and father and father and father came from. And I hear that from shemitta farmers again and again and again. He said, we have generations and generations, right, before us that were moiser nefesh for Yiddishkeit, that gave up their lives, that gave up in order to pass that torch down to us. That's holiness. That's above and beyond time. That's above and beyond this world. And once we do that, right, Kedoshim to you, we ish aviv imitiro, you know your father, then as Shabsos Tishmaro, then you can go ahead and start bringing Kedusha into your life. You can bring holiness into your day-to-day life. You can go from Kiddush, and then at the next week after Shabbos, you have the Havdalah. By the way, our Parsha starts off with Kedoshim, Kiddush, and it ends va'avdil eschem mikol amim, and then you're separate from the rest of the world. You're living in a different plane of existence. And once you have that, al tifnu al alilim. Right? You don't go ahead and get distracted with all of those other things, right? And the Torah goes through, gives you that whole introduction, and then it goes back. Once we know that we have that basis, we can do all the mitzvahs, and we can do this and do that. I see the holiness in him, and I'm not going to do rachel. I'm not going to mix things up in the world. I'm not going to do klayim in the world. I'm going to work my field and know that there's Hashem, know where I came from. And all of these things continue. And then the Torah says, when you got that all down there, now then let's get back to the punishments. When you go ahead and do molech, you're destroying that father-child relationship. That's the keys. I'm going to turn my face away and go directly after you, right? And if you curse out your parents, you're destroying, because you're breaking the basis of where it all comes from. Parsha's Kedoshim, a holy Parsha. Shnas shemitta, a holy year. Holy farmers that may not even be religious, as he likes to describe himself, but that are holy as anything, that have faith that we can all learn and grow from. So this is our holy Parsha. We're in the period of Omer now. It's a period of growth. It's a period of working on that inherent holiness. We should always see the images of our parents in front of us, our grandparents. We had Yom HaShoah this past week. This coming week we have Yom HaZikaron. Yom HaShoah is to remember our parents. Yom HaZikaron is to remember our children, the ones that have died, the ones that perished, that gave their lives, the ones that went to the Molech, and the ones that went to Al-Kiddush Hashem. They both went to Al-Kiddush Hashem. Religious, not religious. We're surrounded by Kedusha, this holy, holy Parsha. May Hashem give us all and inspire us with enough holiness that we can Amir to Hashem, come to go ahead and see Kedusha and bring that Kedusha to the rest of the world. Have an amazing Shabbos. Sponsor my weekly video and subscribe to my weekly email.